All right, we're back in action, back on the boat. Stopped to have a little chat with my neighbor, Biana. He's the kind of guy that when he cares to have a little chat, then I'm all ears. He's got some wonderful stories, always wonderful input, very insightful input on anything and everything. So I always appreciate talking to my neighbors. So we were just finishing up our tabletop wide stance swaying tabletop stretch for the groin and the wrist flexors, and we're going to move back to an upper body dominant mobility drill. So I'm going to do this from my knees just to switch it up. Sometimes if I don't need to stand, then I take it to the ground on my butt, on my knees, take out the lower extremities, and that isolates what you're doing with the upper body just a little bit more. So what we're going to do now is focus on lengthening the lats, rear delts, and triceps. And this is kind of a variation to the backstrokes we did in the last video. We're making big circumference circles going backwards and forwards. And here what I do is kind of wrap and orbit my arm around my head, allow my torso to rotate with my arm, continuing with the same arm, kind of letting my arm drape over my head, lengthening the lats, rear delts, triceps. Then I open up, twisting the spine. I get a stretch down the anterior here, my pecs, obliques. Breathe, inhale as you open up. Exhale as you finish up. Inhale, open up. I feel this all the way down the front side to my hip flexors. Couple more. Want to allow your shoulder to stay loose, stay soft, and for your torso to twist and rotate in conjunction with your arm. Switch sides now. Coming up and around. Oh, big difference. Start on the opposite side and you can tell how much tighter you are at the beginning. Big breath, inhale. Bring it around and exhale. Deep diaphragmatic inhale. Let your body exhale for you. A couple more. Oh yeah. All right. So that does a great job of lengthening the lats, pec minor, serratus, and obliques, even your hip flexors, psoas muscles. Taking them back to lower body dominant, I'm going to do a squat stretch variation. I'm going to take a narrow stance. This is to stretch your calves, Achilles tendon, your soleus, and also your quadriceps and hamstrings. Kind of a half exercise, half stretch. So I'm going to keep my feet close and parallel, pretty close stance, even narrower than hip width. I'm going to bend my knees, bending, bending, bending. My heels start to lift off the ground a little bit, that's okay. I'm going to grab my ankles, so I'm stretching my quads and my calves down here. Then I push my hips up to the sky, let my head hang, stretch the lower back, glutes, and hamstrings. Butt to heels, stretch the calves and quads. Keeping a hold of my ankles, hips up high, stretching the glutes and hamstrings. Now breathe in conjunction with your movement. And honestly, you can breathe in or out on either phase of this. I like to switch off. You know, when I'm doing mobility work, I actually switch my breath when I inhale, when I exhale. That way I can feel the difference. Which way is easier, which way gives me a little more, which way challenges my diaphragm, and just all the little differences I can tell, which are numerous. Right now I'm inhaling into my hamstrings when I lift up, exhaling as I drop into the calf and quad stretch. One more. Keeping a hold of your ankles so you've got some tension going all the way down the kinetic chain. All right, nice. nice. Like I said, that's pretty much a half exercise, half stretch, because you are kind of performing squats as you push up and down. Going back to upper body, I'm going to focus on the anterior. I'm going to clasp my hands behind me, pull my shoulders back, opening the chest up. So I already feel a pretty good stretch here in my front delts, my pecs, my biceps. I'm also going to look up, stretch the front of my neck, purse my lips like I'm blowing a kiss. I'm breathing into the front of my chest here. I'm going to hold this for a couple of static breaths. I'll start to move the neck, get a little bit more dynamic, stretching the sides of my neck, leaning my head back, keeping my head heavy, relaxing my neck. And then I'll start to add some movement into the chest and shoulders, make it even more dynamic. So I'm still looking up, clasping my hands. Alright, I'm going to move back to lower body, and let me maybe angle you downward with me just a hair. I've got a little bit of a ledge here, and maybe you don't, but they're not hard to find. Find a step, find a stool, find a stair, ledge, anything with a little bit of elevation. I'm going to bring my hands are in close. I'm going to bring one foot up wide. I'm going to let the back knee stay in the air, but I am going to drop it down a little bit. Now, being elevated in the front three appendages and at a deficit in the rear leg helps me get a better stretch in the back leg, in my hip flexors, and my front leg in the adductors and hamstrings. Push my hips back, and that stretch transitions to the back calf and the front hamstrings in a different manner. Forward, push the hips backwards, pushing away from you with your hands and your front foot. I'm going to inhale into my groin. I'm going to exhale as I push the hips away. And again, you can try breathing both ways. This is just what feels best for me right now. Big breath in while I'm dipping down and forward. Exhale, push it away. What's up, Joe?
Hey, how's it going?
Good to see you, man. I'm gonna switch sides. Inhale deep into the groin. Exhale, push the hips away. Take your time, nice and steady. Slow and steady. We're not holding static positions for too long, but we can pause there for our breath in or out. Wonderful. Now I'm going to finish with a full body mobility and flexibility drill, similar to our around the worlds that we did in the last video, but operating in a different plane of motion. With the around the worlds, we were making big fingertip circles, moving the upper body. Now we were working in the frontal plane, side to side, lateral movement. Here we're working in the rotational plane, the transverse plane. And this, call these orbits. So going from around the worlds, moving sideways, to orbits, moving front, back, side, side, and rotating in the transverse plane. So hands overhead. You want your feet about shoulder width apart. And it's like you're making the biggest hula hoops possible with your hips. And your fingertips reach in opposite directions, in the opposite direction as your hips. So if my butt's behind me, I'm reaching forward. If my hips are to the right, I'm reaching left. If my hips are in front of me, I'm reaching back, squeezing my glutes to protect my back, feeling the stretch down the anterior. And then if I'm reaching to the right, my hips are shifted to the left. I'm going to alternate directions now. And when in doubt, just remind yourself to make the biggest hula hoop circle possible with your hips. Helps to inhale as you open up. Exhale as you reach forward and close. Inhale as you open up. Exhale as you close. Give you a side view here. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. I could honestly do those all day, or for about 10 minutes. You find so many stretches doing something like that. So there you have it, another mobility routine, full body. We've got some upper body dominant, some lower body biased drills, and some of them are a little more full body. You can run through these in a few different ways. You can do it as a circuit, maybe 1 minute or X amount of reps per exercise, and run through it once, twice, 3 times. Or you can do one long round where maybe you're doing each exercise for however long, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and take a little more time with each drill as you learn more about it, using your breath to help assist you in finding the best stretches possible. Just realized I'm cutting my head off. I couldn't see because of the sun. And you can also slow those down even more, turn them a little bit more static, where you're holding positions for a longer time, static isometric positions where you're not moving. That would be a little more appropriate post-workout or when you're not working out. So if you're doing this before a workout, which is kind of the main objective behind these and why I'm sharing it for you, keep them a little more dynamic, stretching in motion. That way your muscles aren't too lax for the workout. There can be some risks associated with having muscles that are too lax, especially if you're about to do speed work, power exercises, explosive exercises, or lifting a considerable amount of resistance or doing strength training. So give it a go. Let me know what you think. See you next time.